We have two representations of the shopping center studied for the COVID propagation. A first conceptual one and a second one which is a 2D view with the data sources, cameras and infrared camera. The mall is divided into different areas, a grocery store, common areas consisting of an entrance and a lobby, and a DIY store. Here, 4 indicators are present. A T indicator for body temperature measurement with infrared camera, an indicator for the reproduction rate of COVID, called CRR, at the national level, and another for the respect of protective measures, MPMR, and the global indicator for the risk of propagation of COVID, CPR. In the conceptual view, realized in Archimate, we find two components in yellow. First, the shopping center, with the MPMA indicator, which influences the propagation risk indicator, CPR. MPMA is an indicator of compliance with the barrier actions resulting from the aggregations of the different indicators of the zones composing the shopping center. We will see this later. The CRR indicator is part of the component indicators that provide information on the COVID at the national level. We can therefore see here that the shopping center is influenced by an external factor. Of course, other factors influence it, but this is a simplified example. The conceptual view thus allows us to see the links of influence between the indicators. Here, CRR, MPMR, and T influence CPR. We find these three indicators in the 2D view in order to be able to locate them in the different zones of the shopping center, like here T for the input with the data source that is the infrared camera, or at the global level of the shopping center, CRR, MPMR, and CPR. The system data are collected by each camera and by the COVID National Information Collection System, and then integrated into the model elements acting as indicators. These are MPMR and T with the cameras, and CRR with the COVID National Information Collection System. For each of the indicators, we have on the left charts representing the evolution over time of the data from the sensors, cameras, etc. On each of these charts, we can see in legend on the right the labels FN, Fmax, and Fnmax. Fn corresponds to the value of the data received from one of the sensors of the system. For example, the first value received from the infrared camera is 37 degrees Celsius. Fmax and Fnmax are the limits defined by a domain expert. Fnmax is the acceptable limit, degraded state of the infrastructure, and Fnmax the maximum limit, state in which the infrastructure must quickly return to the previous states. For instance, for the national propagation rate of COVID, Fnmax is equal to 1 and Fmax is equal to 1.5. One person can possibly contaminate 1.5 others at most. We see that Fn, blue line, the value received by the acquisition system, is greater than Fnmax, orange line. In the 2D view of the mall, on the right, we see that the CRR indicator has consequently turned orange. Then, regarding the indicators more protective measures respected, MPMR, and COVID propagation rate, CPR, the charts represent the resilience of the infrastructure in the context of these two indicators. That is, how well the infrastructure withstands non-compliance with protective measures and how well it continues to function in the face of COVID propagation. For these two indicators, these resilience rates are displayed directly, charts at bottom left and right, because the indicators are the result of aggregations of other indicators. CPR, the overall resilience rate of the mall to the spread of COVID, is the aggregation of all indicators. MPMR is the aggregation of the different PMR, protective measures respected, specific to each zone. We will see this later. The resilience of CPR is obtained by multiplying the resilience of CRR with that of T and PMR. The resiliences of T and CRR, not shown here, are calculated according to Fn, Fnmax, and Fmax, which are visible in the charts. If Fn is lower than Fmax, the resilience is 1, optimal state. If Fn is higher than Fn max, the resilience is 0.5, degraded state, and goes to 0 when Fn is higher than Fmax, emergency state. Here, the resilience of T is 1, because it is lower than Fmax. That of CR is equal to 0.5 because Fn is between Fn max and Fmax, and zero range indicator in the 2D plan. Now we are going to explain how MPMR is obtained. Each PMR of the various zones composing the mole are calculated and they are multiplied to obtain MPMR. We first consider the grocery store. This one is composed of two zones. Each one has a PMR, respectively GSZ1 PMR and GSZ2 PMR. They are multiplied to obtain the GS PMR, that is to say, the PMR of the grocery store. GSZ1 PMR is obtained from a calculus using GSZ1 MNW and GSZ1 NSD. The first one represents the detected number of people which are not wearing masks, while the second one represents the detected number of persons that does not respect the social distancing. The calculus to obtain GSZ1 PMR is done by calculating first the resilience of GSZ1 MNW and GSZ1 NSD. Those resiliences are obtained by considering Fn, Fmax, and Fnmax. This resilience calculus was explained earlier. Then, GSZ1 PMR will be equal to 0 if both are equal to 0, 1 when both are equal to 1, and an average of both is calculated for the other cases. Remember, this choice of the aggregation function will be discussed with a domain expert in a real case. As previously, we have a conceptual representation of the grocery store on its two zones. For the second zone, there is exactly the same mechanism as described previously for the first one, with the same indicators. Finally, once we obtain the PMR of each zone, we aggregated them via a multiplication and obtain GS PMR. Here we can see the shots and the video from the data sources for each of the introduced indicators. Like with the global previous small view, the indicators representation in the right have their colors which change according to the received data and the resilience calculated. The second one we introduce is a dairy store. Like the grocery store, this one has two zones. Each one has an indicator, DSZ1 PMR and DSZ2 PMR. They are aggregated to obtain DS PMR. This aggregation is the same as source explained with the grocery store zones. There is also a conceptual view. Each PMR zone, DSZ1 PMR and DSZ2 PMR, has the same indicators and source of the grocery store, and all the aggregations are the same of the resilience zones. The last zone we introduced is the common parts, composed of the entrance and the hallway. Each one has a PMR, EPMR and HPMR. Following the same calculus as previously, CLPMR is obtained. Concerning the temperature, remember this one is integrated with the global PMR, MPMR, and the CPR in the global mole described at the beginning of this video. The entrance has two indicators, EMNW and ENSD. People not wearing masks and those not respecting distancing, which are aggregated to obtain EPMR. Again, the aggregation is the same as with the other zones for these MNW and NSD indicators. There is also a conceptual view. The charts are displayed on the left, showing the camera data evolutions, while the 2D view on the right displays the indicators and when resilience is equal to 0, red, 1, green, or between both, orange. The last zone is the hallway, with two zones on exactly the same indicators as the other ones. For the first zone, there are HZ1MNW and HZ1NSD. The aggregation is again the same as introduced previously to obtain HZ1PMR. There is also again a conceptual view. They are exactly the same things for the second zone. Finally, the charts on the left show the camera data evolutions. The 2D view on the right displays the indicators and the resilience evolutions. To conclude, remember that all we have seen run in the same time for each zones of the mole, giving the possibility to zoom in on a specific zone to allow to understand which precise indicator decrease a lot the global COVID propagation resilience, decrease a lot or not, or to zoom out to have a global mole view as seen at the beginning of this video.